My boss called my name. His voice was loud. I was scared. Very scared. I didn't know what I did wrong. It was my second day. I came early. Like yesterday. I didn't want to be late. I didn't want to make another mistake. Everything looked normal. People were working, talking, moving fast. Then I heard it. Hey you! I turned around. It was my boss. He was looking at me. Serious. No smile. My heart started beating fast again. I froze for a moment. Just a moment. But inside everything became heavy. My boss was still looking at me. Waiting. I quickly walked toward him. Trying to stay calm. Trying not to look nervous. But my body was not listening to me. My hands felt cold. My chest felt tight. And my thoughts started moving too fast. Did I do something wrong? Was there another mistake? Did someone complain about me? Question after question filled my head. And none of them were good. The room suddenly felt smaller. The sounds around me became quieter. Not because people stopped talking, but because my mind was focused on only one thing. Him. His face looked serious. Too serious. No smile. No warmth. Just silence. And that silence made me even more nervous. I stopped in front of him, trying to stand straight, trying to look ready, even if inside, I was scared. Very scared. For a few seconds he said nothing. He just looked at me. And honestly, those few seconds felt longer than a whole hour. Then he turned around slowly. Come with me, he said. His voice was calm, but not soft. I followed him, step by step. Not too close, not too far. My heart kept beating faster. I looked around quickly. Some people were working normally. Others looked at us for a second, then looked away again. But in my mind it felt like everyone was watching me. Like everyone already knew something bad was happening. And I was the only person who didn't know what it was yet. We walked across the room. Past tables. Past boxes. Past busy workers. Everything looked normal. But inside me nothing felt normal anymore. I tried to remember yesterday. Every small thing. Every task. Every mistake. Did I forget something? Did I break something again? Did I do the work incorrectly? I couldn't remember clearly. And that made me more afraid. Because sometimes not knowing is worse. Much worse. Finally, he stopped near a table. He looked down at something. Then back at me. And in that moment, I felt my stomach tighten. I knew this was about work. My work. Something was wrong. I could feel it. Clearly now. The fear inside me was no longer small. It was growing. Slowly. Quietly. Like a shadow moving closer and closer. And all I could think was, please, don't let this be another mistake. Come here, he said. I walked slowly, step by step. I felt something was wrong. Very wrong. He showed me something. On the table. It was my work. From yesterday, he said. Did you do this? I looked at it. My hands felt cold. Yes. My voice was very small. He looked at me again. This is not correct. I looked at the table. Carefully. Trying to understand what he was showing me. At first, I didn't see anything strange. Everything looked normal. At least to me. But my boss kept looking at it. Serious. Silent. Waiting for me to notice something. And slowly that pressure started growing again. I moved a little closer. My eyes scanned the work. Left. Right. Top. Bottom. Still nothing. And that scared me even more. Because if I couldn't even see the mistake, then maybe I was worse than I thought. Did you do this? He asked again. His voice was calm, but heavy. I swallowed slowly. Yes. The word barely came out. I hated how weak my voice sounded. I hated how nervous I looked, but I couldn't control it. Not anymore. He pointed at one small part. Right there. A tiny detail. Something I didn't notice yesterday. This part is wrong, he said. And suddenly, I saw it. My chest dropped. A simple mistake, small, but very clear now. And the worst part, I should have noticed it before. I should have checked more carefully. I felt heat rise to my face again. That same feeling from yesterday. Embarrassment, fear, shame, all coming back together. My thoughts became louder. He's disappointed. He thinks I'm careless. Maybe I'm not good enough for this job. I wanted to explain myself. I wanted to say I was tired. I was nervous. It was my second day, but none of those excuses felt good enough. So instead, I said the only thing I could say. I'm sorry, again. That word. Sorry, I used it yesterday too. And now here it was again. The same fear. The same mistake. The same feeling. I looked down at my hands. They were tense. My fingers moving slightly. I tried to stop them. But I couldn't. Because deep inside, I already imagined the worst. Maybe he would get angry. Maybe he would shout. Maybe he would say this job is not for you. And honestly, part of me believed he would be right. Because right now, I didn't feel confident anymore. I felt small again. Smaller than yesterday. Like I didn't belong there at all. The room suddenly felt colder. Even the air felt heavy. I kept staring at the mistake. That tiny little mistake. And somehow it looked much bigger now. Big enough to destroy all the confidence I had left. My mind went blank. I didn't understand. I tried. I really tried. I'm sorry. That word. Sorry. I hated that word now. I thought. He will fire me. I will lose this job. I failed again. I couldn't look at him. I looked down. At the floor. I couldn't speak. Not properly. My throat felt tight. Like the words inside me didn't want to come out. I stood there quietly. Looking at the mistake, again. And again. As if staring at it longer would somehow change it. But it didn't. It stayed there. Clear. Real. And impossible to hide. My boss crossed his arms. Still silent. Still serious. And that silence felt dangerous. More dangerous than shouting. Because when someone shouts, you know how they feel. But silence makes your mind imagine everything. And my mind was imagining too much. He's angry. He regrets hiring me. He thinks I'm useless. The thoughts came fast, one after another. I tried to stop them. But fear doesn't listen very well. Especially when you already doubt yourself. I looked down at the floor. I couldn't look at him anymore. I didn't want to see disappointment in his eyes. Because somehow that felt worse than anger. My breathing became slower. Heavy. Uneven. I could hear sounds around me again. People moving. Boxes closing. Machines working. Normal sounds. Normal life. But inside me nothing felt normal. I felt trapped inside my own thoughts. I tried. That sentence repeated in my head. Again and again. I really tried. I woke up early. I listened carefully. I worked slowly. I checked everything. Or at least, I thought I did. So why did this keep happening? Why did I keep making mistakes? For a moment, I started feeling angry at myself. Not at my boss. Not at the job. At me. Because no matter how careful I tried to be, something still went wrong. And honestly, that feeling was exhausting. Very exhausting. I pressed my hands together tightly. Trying to stay calm. Trying not to panic. But then another thought entered my mind. A heavier one. What if I lose this job? That thought changed everything. Suddenly, this wasn't just about one mistake anymore. This was about money. About responsibility. About proving myself. About not failing. And the pressure became even heavier. I imagined going home. Telling my family. I lost the job. Just imagining those words made my stomach hurt. I felt embarrassed already. even though nothing had happened yet. Fear does that sometimes. It creates pain before reality even arrives. "I'm sorry," I whispered again. My voice sounded tired now. Not just nervous. Tired. Because fear can make a person tired very quickly. Especially silent fear. The kind you carry inside. My boss finally moved. Slowly. He pulled a chair closer. Looked at the work again. Then looked at me. And for the first time since he called my name, his face changed a little. Not softer. Not happier. But different. Less angry. Less cold. And somehow that tiny change made me breathe a little easier. Just a little. Enough to look up again. Enough to listen. Enough to hope. Maybe this moment was not the end after all. But then, he sighed. Not angry. Just tired. He said, "Look carefully." He pointed at the mistake. Slowly. He explained. One step. Then another step. Simple. Very simple. And suddenly, I understood. Oh. It was not hard. I just didn't see it. My boss looked at me quietly. Not angry. Not shouting. Just watching me. Carefully. And somehow that calmness made me feel even more nervous. Because I still didn't understand what would happen next. Would he forgive the mistake? Would he give me another chance? Or was he simply deciding how to tell me I failed? He let out a slow breath. A tired breath. Then he pulled the paper closer. Look carefully, he said again. His voice was lower now. Softer. Not friendly. But not harsh either. I stepped closer to the table. Slowly. Still nervous. Still afraid to say the wrong thing. He pointed at the mistake one more time. This part, he said. Then he showed me the line above it. And the line below it. One step. Then another. Slowly. Very slowly. Like he finally realized my problem was not laziness. It was fear. I watched carefully. This time really carefully. Not just with my eyes. But with my full attention. And suddenly something changed. I saw it. Clearly. Not just the mistake, but the reason behind it. Oh, the sound escaped my mouth quietly. Everything suddenly made sense. The problem was small. Very small. I simply misunderstood one instruction yesterday. Just one. And because I was too afraid to ask questions, I guessed instead. That was the real mistake. Not the work itself. Not the small error on the table. The real mistake was staying silent. My boss looked at me. "You understand now?" he asked. I nodded quickly. Yes. And this time my voice sounded different. Not perfect. Still nervous. But clearer. Because now, I finally understood what went wrong. He leaned back slightly. You need to ask when you don't understand. Simple words. Very simple. But those words stayed in my mind immediately. Because he was right. Completely right. Yesterday, I wanted to look smart. Confident. Ready. I didn't want people to think I was slow. Or inexperienced. So I stayed quiet. Even when I was confused. Even when I wasn't sure. And now that silence had brought me here. Standing in front of my boss. Terrified. Over one small misunderstanding. I looked down again. But this time not because of shame. Because I was thinking. Really thinking. How many times in my life had fear stopped me from asking for help? How many mistakes happened simply because I was too afraid to speak? The answer was probably many. Too many. My boss tapped the table lightly. Everybody is new at first, he said. That sentence surprised me. Not because the words were special, but because of how normal he sounded now. Calm. Patient. Human. And suddenly the fear inside me became smaller. Not gone completely. But smaller than before. For the first time since he called my name, I stopped feeling like a failure. And started feeling like maybe I was simply learning. He said, "Don't be afraid. If you don't understand, ask." That word, ask. I never did that before. I was always afraid. Afraid to look stupid. Afraid to speak. But now, I tried something new. I asked, "Can you show me again?" He nodded, and showed me again. Slowly, I stayed quiet for a moment, thinking about his words. "You need to ask." Such a simple sentence. But for me it felt difficult. Very difficult. Because asking questions always made me nervous. Not because I didn't want to learn, but because I was afraid. Afraid people would judge me. Afraid they would think he's too slow. He doesn't understand simple things. He's not good enough for this job. Those fears had followed me for a long time. Not just here. Not just at work. Even at school. Even in daily life. Whenever I didn't understand something, I often stayed silent. I pretended to understand. I smiled. I nodded. And inside, I hoped nobody would notice. But pretending only works for a short time. Sooner or later the truth appears. And usually it appears through mistakes. I looked at the work again. Then at my boss. He was waiting calmly. Not angry anymore. Just waiting. Giving me space to speak. And honestly that gave me courage. A small courage. But real. I took a slow breath. Then finally asked, "Can you show me again?" The moment the words left my mouth, I felt embarrassed. My face became warm again. Part of me still expected him to sigh. Or become annoyed. Or say, "You should already know this." But he didn't. He simply nodded. Then he explained it again. Slowly. Step by step. This time, I listened differently. Not with fear. But with attention. Real attention. Because now, I wasn't trying to protect my pride anymore. I was trying to learn. And somehow learning felt easier when I stopped pretending. My boss pointed at each step carefully. I followed with my eyes. Then repeated the process myself. Slowly. Carefully. And this time it worked. No mistake. No confusion. Just understanding. A small smile appeared on my face. Very small. But real. My boss noticed it too. "Better," he said. Just one word. But hearing that word felt surprisingly good. Because after all the fear, all the stress, all the self-doubt, that small moment of success meant something to me. Something important. For the rest of the day, I worked differently. Not perfectly. I was still careful. Still nervous sometimes. But now when I didn't understand something, I asked. Quietly. Politely. But I asked. And something surprising happened. People answered. Normally. No laughing. No judging. No anger. Just answers. Simple answers. And little by little the fear inside me became smaller. Not gone completely. But weaker. Because I finally understood something important. Asking questions does not make you weak. Pretending to understand everything when you don't. That is what creates bigger problems. When work ended that day, I walked outside slowly. The evening air felt cool, peaceful. And for the first time since starting this job, I felt a little different inside. Not confident yet. Not strong yet. But growing slowly, one question at a time. That day, I learned something new. Not just work, but courage. It's okay to ask. It's okay to not know. Because, if you don't ask you stay lost. But if you ask you grow.